Porto Williams.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, I want to change the tone of the debate this afternoon, and I want to celebrate. The men and the women who work in the NGO sector, who work for not-for-profits, who work for community organisations, the third sector, civil society organisations. Many of them are volunteers, but each and every one of them are dedicated to the people and the causes they care about and they support. So I celebrate the NGO sector and I celebrate the work that they do. They support people with disabilities to live fulfilling lives. They help parents to parent well. They support individuals and families to live violence-free lives. They teach kids how to play sport. They support mothers to breastfeed, and they house the homeless. And speaking of people who should be housing the homeless, hasn't the Minister for Social Housing had a dreadful few weeks? She has had a dreadful few weeks. First, her response to the ever-increasing homelessness issue is to offer people $5,000 to leave Auckland because there are no houses in Auckland. And then, when they get to these places and they find that there's no work, she offers them $3,000 to come back. So we've got this amazing homelessness loop of people leaving Auckland, coming back to Auckland, leaving Auckland, coming back to Auckland. So what's her next response to the homelessness? Well, she's going to pre-book some motels.
Fantastic.
At the princely sum of $190 a night, which the homeless will have to actually repay. But let's face it, when the government doesn't do its job, who picks up the pieces? Who then has to take up the reins? The community sector, the NGOs. And why doesn't the government rate the NGO sector higher? Why doesn't it? I turned on the news the other day to find out that 750 NGO groups are due to have their contracts cut in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks' time, the Ministry of Social Development, Andrea Vance's report on One News the other night, 750 NGOs are due to have their contracts expire. Ministry of Social Development, it is rubbish. It's complete rubbish that you would treat the NGO sector in this way. Smoke-free coalition, Minister. I didn't say MSD, I said 750 NGOs. Listen, Minister, it might pay you to learn some things. Ministry of Health and Ministry of MSD are cutting 750 NGOs. In 2 weeks' time, they will lose their contracts. Smoke-free coalition, who has worked in the smoke-free area for 20 years, and have a strong commitment to New Zealand becoming smoke-free in 2025, which is a government responsibility, 20 years down the drain because the Ministry of Health will not continue to fund them. And why does this government disregard the expertise of the sector? Why? Let's look at what happened to problem gambling. Problem gambling had the audacity to stick their head up and say, we have the right to advocate on behalf of the people we serve, and the government policy isn't matching the needs in the community. And what happens to problem gambling? They had their contracts cut. And let's look at how the government uses the NGO sector to actually legitimise their own policies. The Minister for Social Housing used the name of the Salvation Army to legitimise the work that they were doing. Well, thank goodness that the Salvation Army actually came out and said that it was not true. But, Mr Speaker, I just want to end on one note. I want to actually send a huge congratulations to Te Puia and Manurewa Maraes in South Auckland for doing what this government should do. They are the people, they are the New Zealanders who care for each other. They are the ones who have the least, who give the most. They are not motivated by profit, but they are motivated by the aroha they have for other New Zealanders, unlike this government.
Yeah. Very good speech.
The time for this debate has expired.